From the besieged Ardea all in post, borne by the trustless wings of false desire, lust-breathed Tarquin leaves the Roman host, and to Collatium bears the lightless fire, which, in pale embers hid, lurks to aspire, and girdle with embracing flames the waist of Collatine's fair love, Lucrece the chaste. Haply that name of chaste, unhappily set this bateless edge on his keen appetite, when Collatine unwisely did not let to praise the clear unmatched red and white, which triumphed in that sky of his delight, where mortal stars as bright as heaven's beauties, with pure respects did him peculiar duties. For he, the night before, in Tarquin's tent, unlocked the treasure of his happy state, what priceless wealth the heavens had him lent in the possession of his beauteous mate, reckoning his fortune at such high proud rate, that kings might be espoused to more fame, but king nor peer to such a peerless dame. Oh, happiness enjoyed but of a few, and if possessed, as soon decayed and done, as is the morning silver melting dew against the golden splendor of the sun, an expired date cancelled ere well begun. Honor and beauty in the owner's arms are weakly fortressed from a world of harms. Beauty itself doth of itself persuade the eyes of men without an orator. What needeth then apology be made to set forth that which is so singular? Or why is Collatine the publisher of that rich jewel he should keep unknown from thievish ears, because it is his own? Perchance his boast of Lucrece sovereignty suggested this proud issue of a king, for by our ears our hearts oft tainted be. Perchance that envy of so rich a thing, braving compare, disdainfully did sting his high-pitched thoughts, that meaner men should vaunt that golden hap which their superiors want. But some untimely thought did instigate his all too timeless speed, if none of those. His honor, his affairs, his friends, his state, neglected all, with swift intent he goes to quench the coal which in his liver glows. O rash false heat, wrapped in repentant cold, thy hasty spring still blasts, and ne'er grows old. When at Collatium this false lord arrived, well was he welcomed by the Roman dame, within whose face beauty and virtue strived, which of them both should underprop her fame. When virtue bragged, beauty would blush for shame. When beauty boasted blushes, in despite, virtue would stain that ore with silver white. But beauty in that white entituled from Venus' doves doth challenge that fair field. Then virtue claims from beauty beauty's red, which virtue gave the golden age to gild their silver cheeks, and called it then their shield, teaching them thus to use it in the fight, when shame assailed, the red should fence the white. This silent war of lilies and of roses, which Tarquin viewed in her fair face's field, in their pure ranks his traitor eye encloses. Where, lest between them both it should be killed, the coward captive vanquished doth yield to those two armies that would let him go, rather than triumph in so false a foe. Now thinks he that her husband's shallow tongue, the niggard prodigal that praised her so, in that high task hath done her beauty wrong, which far exceeds his barren skill to show. Therefore that praise which Collatine doth owe, enchanted Tarquin answers with surmise, in silent wonder of still gazing eyes. This earthly saint, adored by this devil, little suspecteth the false worshipper, for unstained thoughts do seldom dream on evil. Birds never limed, no secret bushes fear. So guiltless she securely gives good cheer and reverend welcome to her princely guest, whose inward ill no outward harm expressed. For that he coloured with his high estate, hiding base sin in pleats of majesty, that nothing in him seemed inordinate, save sometime too much wonder of his eye, which having all could not satisfy. But poorly rich, so wanteth in his store, that cloyed with much, he pineth still for more. But she, that never coped with stranger eyes, could pick no meaning from their parling looks, nor read the subtle shining secrecies writ in the glassy margins of such books. She touched no unknown baits, nor feared no hooks, nor could she moralize his wanton sight more than his eyes were open to the light. His stories to her ears, her husband's fame, won in the fields of fruitful Italy, and decks with praises Colatine's high name, made glorious by his manly chivalry, with bruised arms and wreaths of victory. Her joy with heaved up hand she doth express, and wordless so greets heaven for his success. Far from the purpose of his coming thither, he makes excuses for his being there. No cloudy show of stormy, blustering weather doth yet in his fair welkin once appear, till sable night, mother of dread and fear, upon the world dim darkness doth display, and in her vaulty prison stows the day. For then is Tarquin brought unto his bed, intending weariness with heavy sprite. For after supper long he questioned with modest Lucrece, and wore out the night. Now leaden slumber with life's strength doth fight, and every one to rest themselves betake, save thieves, and cares, and troubled minds that wake. As one of which doth Tarquin lie, revolving the sundry dangers of his will's obtaining, yet ever to obtain his will resolving, though weak-built hopes persuade him to abstaining. Despair to gain doth traffic oft for gaining, and when great treasure is the meed proposed, though death be adjunct, there's no death supposed. Those that much covet are with gain so fond of what they have not, that which they possess they scatter and unloose it from their bond, and so by hoping more they have but less. Or gaining more, the profit of excess is but to surfeit, and such grief sustain, that they prove bankrupt in this poor rich gain. So that in venturing ill we leave to be the things we are for that which we expect, and this ambitious foul infirmity in having much torments us with defect of that we have. So then we do neglect the thing we have, and all for want of wit make something nothing by augmenting it. Such hazard now must doting Tarquin make, pawning his honor to obtain his lust, and for himself he must forsake. Then where is truth if there be no self-trust? When shall he think to find a stranger just, when he himself confounds, betrays to slanderous tongues and wretched hateful days? Now stole upon the time the dead of night, when heavy sleep had closed up mortal eyes. No comfortable star did lend his light, no noise but owls and wolves' death-boding cries. Now serves the season that they may surprise the silly lambs. Pure thoughts are dead and still, while lust and murder wakes to stain and kill. And now this lustful lord leapt from his bed, throwing his mantle rudely o'er his arm, is madly tossed between desire and dread. The one sweetly flatters, the other feareth harm, but honest fear, bewitched with lust's foul charm, doth too oft betake him to retire, beaten away by brain-sick, rude desire. His falchion on a flint he softly smiteth, that from the cold stone sparks of fire do fly, whereat a waxen torch forthwith he lighteth, which must be lodestar to his lustful eye, and to the flame thus speaks advisedly: as from this cold flint I enforced this fire, so Lucrece must I force to my desire. Fair torch, burn out thy light, and lend it not to darken her whose light excelleth thine. And die, unhallowed thoughts, before you blot with your uncleanness that which is divine. Offer pure incense to so pure a shrine. Let fair humanity abhor the deed that spots and stains love's modest snow-white weed. Oh, shame to knighthood and to shining arms! Oh, foul dishonor to my household's grave! Oh, impious act, including all foul harms! A martial man to be soft fancy slave! True valor still a true respect should have. Then my digression is so vile, so base, that it will live engraven in my face. Yea, though I die, the scandal will survive, and be an eyesore in my golden coat. Some loathsome dash the herald will contrive to cipher me, how fondly I did dote, that my posterity, shamed with the note, shall curse my bones, and hold it for no sin to wish that I their father had not been. What win I, if I gain the thing I seek? A dream, a breath, a froth of fleeting joy? Who buys a minute's mirth to wail a week, or sells eternity to get a toy? For one sweet grape who will the vine destroy? Or what fond beggar but to touch the crown would with the sceptre straight be strucken down? If Collatinus dream of my intent, will he not wake, and in a desperate rage post hither this vile purpose to prevent, this siege that hath engirt his merry age, this blur to youth, this sorrow to the sage, this dying virtue, this surviving shame, whose crime will bear an ever-during blame? Oh, what excuse can my invention make, when thou shalt charge me with so black a deed? Will not my tongue be mute, my frail joints shake, mine eyes forego their light, my false heart bleed? The guilt being great, the fear doth still exceed, and extreme fear can neither fight nor fly, but coward-like with trembling terror die. Had Collatinus killed my son or sire, or lain in ambush to betray my life, or were he not my dear friend, this desire might have excuse to work upon his wife, as in revenge or quittal of such strife. But as he is my kinsman, my dear friend, the shame and faults finds no excuse nor end. Shameful it is, aye, if the fact be known. Hateful it is. There is no hate in loving. I'll beg her love, but she is not her own. The worst is but denial and reproving. My will is strong past reason's weak removing. Who fears a sentence or an old man's sore shall by a painted cloth be kept in awe. Then childish fear avaunt, debating die. Respect and reason wait on wrinkled age. My heart shall never countermand mine eye. Sad pause and deep regard beseems the sage. My part is youth, and beats these from the stage. Desire my pilot is, beauty my prize. Then who fears sinking where such treasure lies? As corn o'ergrown by weeds, so heedful fear is almost choked by unresisted lust. Away he steals with open listening ear, full of foul hope and full of fond mistrust, both which are servitors to the unjust, so cross him with their opposite persuasion, that now he vows a league, and now invasion. Within his thought her heavenly image sits, and in the self-same seat sits Collatine. That eye which looks on her confounds his wits, that eye which him beholds, as more divine, unto a view so false will not incline, but with a pure appeal seeks to the heart, which once corrupted takes the worser part, and therein heartens up his servile powers, who flattered by their leaders' jocund show, stuff up his lust as minutes fill up hours, and as their captain so their pride doth grow, paying more slavish tribute than they owe. By reprobate desire thus madly led, the Roman lord marcheth to Lucrece' bed. The locks between her chamber and his will, each one by him enforced, retires his ward. But as they open, they all rate his ill, which drives the creeping thief to some regard. The threshold grates the door to have him heard, night-wandering weasel shriek to see him there. They fright him, yet he still pursues his fear. As each unwilling portal yields him way, through little vents and crannies of the place, the wind wars with his torch to make him stay, and blows the smoke of it into his face, extinguishing his conduct in this case. But his hot heart, which fond desire doth scorch, puffs forth another wind that fires the torch. And being lighted, by the light he spies Lucretia's glove, wherein her needle sticks. He takes it from the rushes where it lies, and griping at the needle his finger pricks, as who should say, this glove to wanton tricks is not inured. Return again in haste, thou seest our mistress' ornaments are chaste. But all these poor forbiddings could not stay him. He in the worst sense consters their denial. The doors, the wind, the glove that did delay him, he takes for accidental things of trial, or as those bars which stop the hourly dial, who with a lingering stay his course doth let, till every minute pays the hour is dead. So, quoth he, these lets attend the time, like little frosts that sometimes threat the spring, to add a more rejoicing to the prime, and give the sleep-eared birds more cause to sing. Pain pays the income of each precious thing. Huge rocks, high winds, strong pirates' shelves and sands the merchant fears, ere rich at home he lands. How is he come unto the chamber door that shuts him from the heaven of his thought, which with a yielding latch and with no more hath barred him from the blessed thing he sought, so from himself impiety hath wrought, that for his prey to pray he doth begin, as if the heaven should countenance his sin. Then love and fortune be my gods, my guide. My will is backed with resolution. Thoughts are but dreams till their effects be tried. The blackest sin is cleared with absolution. Against love's fire fear's frost hath dissolution. The eye of heaven is out, and misty night covers the shame that follows sweet delight. This said, his guilty hand plucked up the latch, and with his knee the door he opens wide. The dove sleeps fast that this night owl will catch. Thus treason works ere traitors be espied. Who sees the lurking serpent steps aside. But she, sound sleeping, fearing no such thing, lies at the mercy of his mortal sting. Into the chamber wickedly he stalks, and gazeth on her yet unstained bed. The curtains being close, about he walks, rolling his greedy eyeballs in his head. By their high treason is his heart misled, which gives the watchword to his hand full soon, to draw the cloud that hides the silver moon. Her lily hand her rosy cheek lies under, cousining the pillow of a lawful kiss, who therefore, angry, seems to part in sunder, swelling on either side to want his bliss. Between whose hills her head entombed is, where like a virtuous monument she lies, to be admired of lewd, unhallowed eyes. Without the bed her other fair hand was on the green coverlet, whose perfect white showed like an April daisy on the grass, with pearly sweat resembling dew of night. Her eyes like marigolds had sheathed their light, and canopied in darkness sweetly lay, till they might open to adorn the day. Her hair like golden threads played with her breath. O modest wantons, wanton modesty, showing life's triumph in the map of death, and death's dim look in life's mortality. Each in her sleep themselves so beautify, as if between them twain there were no strife, but that life lived in death, and death in life. Her breasts like ivory globes circled with blue, a pair of maiden worlds unconquered, save of their lord no bearing yoke they knew, and him by oath they truly honored. These worlds in Tarquin new ambition bred, who like a foul usurper went about from this fair throne to heave the owner out. As the grim lion fawneth o'er his prey, sharp hunger by the conquest satisfied, so all this sleeping soul doth Tarquin stay, his rage of lust by gazing qualified, slacked, not suppressed, for standing by her side, his eye which late this mutiny restrains, unto a greater uproar tempts his veins, and they like straggling slaves for pillage fighting, obdurate vassals fell exploits effecting, in bloody death and ravishment delighting, nor children's tears, nor mothers' groans respecting, swell in their pride, the onset still expecting. Anon his beating heart, alarum striking, gives the hot charge and bids them do their liking. His drumming heart cheers up his burning eye. His eye commends the leading to his hand as proud of such a dignity, smoking with pride, marched on to make his stand on her bare breast, the heart of all her land, whose ranks of blue veins, as his hand did scale, left their round turrets destitute and pale. They, mustering to the quiet cabinet where their dear governess and lady lies, do tell her she is dreadfully beset, and fright her with confusion of their cries. She, much amazed, breaks ope her locked-up eyes, who, peeping forth this tumult to behold, are by his flaming torch dimmed and controlled. Imagine her as one in dead of night, from forth dull sleep by dreadful fancy waking, that thinks she hath beheld some ghastly sprite, whose grim aspect sets every joint to shaking. What terror 'tis, but she in worse taking, from sleep disturbed, heedfully doth view the sight which makes supposed terror true. Wrapped and confounded in 1,000 fears, like to a new killed bird, she trembling lies. She dares not look, yet winking there appears quick shifting antics ugly in her eyes. Such shadows are the weak brain's forgeries, who, angry that the eyes fly from their lights, in darkness daunts them with more dreadful sights. His hand, that yet remains upon her breast, rude ram to batter such an ivory wall, may feel her heart, poor citizen, distressed, wounding itself to death, rise up and fall, beating her bulk that his hand shakes withal. This moves in him more rage and lesser pity, to make the breach and enter this sweet city. First, like a trumpet, doth his tongue begin to sound a parley to his heartless foe, who o'er the white sheet peers her whiter chin, the reason of this rash alarm to know, which he by dumb demeanour seeks to show. But she with vehement prayers urgeth still, under what colour he commits this ill. Thus he replies: the colour in thy face, that even for anger makes the lily pale, and the red rosette blush her own disgrace, shall plead for me and tell my loving tale. Under that colour am I come to scale thy never-conquered fort. The fault is thine, for those thine eyes betray thee unto mine. I see what crosses my attempt will bring. I know what thorns the growing rose defends. I think the honey guarded with a sting. All this beforehand counsel comprehends. But will is deaf, and hears no heedful friends. Only he hath an eye to gaze on beauty, and dotes on what he looks, 'gainst law or duty. I have debated even in my soul what wrong, what shame, what sorrow I shall breed, but nothing can affection's course control, or stop the headlong fury of his speed. I know repentant tears ensue the deed, reproach, disdain, and deadly enmity, yet strive I to embrace mine infamy. This said, he shakes aloft his Roman blade, which like a falcon towering in the skies, coucheth the fowl below with his winged shade, whose crooked beak threats if he mount, he dies. So under his insulting falchion lies harmless Lucrece, marking what he tells with trembling fear, as fowl hear falcon's bells. Lucrece, quoth he, this night I must enjoy thee. If thou deny, then force must work my way, for in thy bed I purpose to destroy thee. That done, some worthless slave of thine I'll slay, to kill thine honor with thy life's decay. And in thy dead arms do I mean to place him, swearing I slew him, seeing thee embrace him. So thy surviving husband shall remain the scornful mark of every open eye. Thy kinsmen hang their heads at this disdain, thy issue blurred with nameless bastardy, and thou, the author of their obloquy, shall have thy trespass cited up in rhymes, and sung by children in succeeding times. But if thou yield, I rest thy secret friend. The fault unknown is as a thought unacted. A little harm done to a great good end for lawful policy remains enacted. The poisonous simple sometime is compacted in a pure compound. Being so applied, his venom in effect is purified. Then for thy husband and thy children's sake, tender my suit, bequeath not to their lot the shame that from them no device can take, the blemish that will never be forgot, worse than a slavish wipe or birth hour's blot, for marks descried in men's nativity are nature's faults, not their own infamy. Here with a cockatrice dead-killing eye, he rouseth up himself and makes a pause. While she, the picture of pure piety, like a white hind under the gripe's sharp claws, pleads in a wilderness where are no laws to the rough beast that knows no gentle right, nor aught obeys but his foul appetite. She conjures him by high almighty Jove, by knighthood, gentry, and sweet friendship's oath, by her untimely tears, a husband's love, by holy human law and common troth, by heaven and earth and all the power of both, that to his borrowed bed he make retire, and stoop to honor, not to foul desire. Quoth she, reward not hospitality with such black payment as thou hast pretended. Mud not the fountain that gave drink to thee. Mar not the thing that cannot be amended. End thy ill aim before thy shoot be ended. He is no woodman that doth bend his bow to strike a poor unseasonable doe. Thou art, quoth she, a sea, a sovereign king, and lo, there falls into thy boundless flood black lust, dishonor, shame, misgoverning, who seek to stain the ocean of thy blood. If all these petty ills shall change thy good, thy sea within a puddle's womb is hearsed, and not the puddle in thy sea dispersed. So let thy thoughts, low vassals to thy state, no more, quoth he. By heaven, I will not hear thee. Yield to my love, if not enforced hate, instead of love's coy touch, shall rudely tear thee. That done despitefully, I mean to bear thee unto the base bed of some rascal groom, to be thy partner in this shameful doom. This said, he sets his foot upon the light, for light and lust are deadly enemies, shame folded up in blind, concealing night, when most unseen, then most doth tyrannize. The wolf hath seized his prey, the poor lamb cries, till with her own white fleece her voice controlled, entombs her outcry in her lips' sweet fold. For with the nightly linen that she wears, he pens her piteous clamors in her head, cooling his hot face in the chastest tears that ever modest eyes with sorrow shed. Oh, that prone lust should stain so pure a bed, the spots whereof could weeping purify, her tears should drop on them perpetually. But she hath lost a dearer thing than life, and he hath won what he would lose again. This forced league doth force a further strife, this momentary joy breed months of pain. This hot desire converts to cold disdain. Pure chastity is rifled of her store, and lust the thief far poorer than before. Oh, deeper sin than bottomless conceit can comprehend in still imagination. Drunken desire must vomit his receipt ere he can see his own abomination. While lust is in his pride, no exclamation can curb his heat or rein his rash desire, till like a jade self-will himself doth tire. And then, with lank and lean discolored cheek, with heavy eye, knit brow, and strengthless pace, feeble desire, all recreant, poor and meek, like to a bankrupt beggar wails his case. The flesh being proud, desire doth fight with grace, for there it revels, and when that decays, the guilty rebel for remission prays. Even in this thought through the dark night he stealeth, a captive victor that hath lost in gain, bearing away the wound that nothing healeth, the scar that will, despite of cure, remain, leaving his spoil perplexed in greater pain. She bears the load of lust he left behind, and he the burthen of a guilty mind. He like a thievish dog creeps sadly thence, she like a weary lamb lies panting there. He scowls and hates himself for his offense, she desperate with her nails her flesh doth tear. He faintly flies, sweating with guilty fear, she stays, exclaiming on the direful night. He runs and chides his vanished loathed delight. Here she exclaims against repose and rest, and bids her eyes hereafter still be blind. She wakes her heart by beating on her breast, and bids it leap from thence where it may find some purer chest to close so pure a mind. Frantic with grief thus breathes she forth her spite against the unseen secrecy of night. Oh, night, thou furnace of foul-reeking smoke, let not the jealous day behold that face which underneath thy black all-hiding cloak immodesty lies martyred with disgrace. Keep still possession of thy gloomy place, that all the faults which in thy reign are made may likewise be sepulchred in thy shade. Make me not object to the telltale day. The light will show, charactered in my brow, the story of sweet chastity's decay, the impious breach of holy wedlock vow. Yea, the illiterate that know not how to cipher what is writ in learned books will coat my loathsome trespass in my looks. If, Collatine, thine honour lay in me, from me by strong assault it is bereft. My honey lost, and I, a drone-like bee, have no perfection of my summer left, but robbed and ransacked by injurious theft. In thy weak hive a wandering wasp hath crept, and sucked the honey which thy chaste bee kept. Yet am I guilty of thy honour's wrack, yet for thy honour did I entertain him. Coming from thee, I could not put him back, for it had been dishonour to disdain him. Besides, of weariness he did complain him, and talked of virtue. Oh, unlooked for evil, when virtue was profaned in such a devil. Why should the worm intrude the maiden bud, or hateful cuckoos hatch in sparrows' nests, or toads infect fair founts with venom mud, or tyrant folly lurk in gentle breasts, or kings be breakers of their own behests? But no perfection is so absolute that some impurity doth not pollute. Unruly blasts wait on the tender spring, unwholesome weeds take root with precious flowers, the adder hisses where the sweet birds sing. What virtue breeds, iniquity devours. We have no good that we can say is ours, but ill annexed opportunity, or kills his life, or else his quality. O opportunity, thy guilt is great. 'Tis thou that executes the traitor's treason. Thou set'st the wolf where he the lamb may get. Whoever plots the sin, thou points the season. 'Tis thou that spurn'st at right, at law, at reason, and in thy shady cell, where none may spy him, sits sin to seize the souls that wander by him. Thou mak'st the vestal violate her oath. Thou blow'st the fire when temperance is thawed. Thou smother'st honesty, thou murderest troth. Thou foul abettor, thou notorious bawd. Thou plantest scandal and displacest Lord, thou ravisher, thou traitor, thou false thief. Thy honey turns to gall, thy joy to grief. Thy secret pleasure turns to open shame, thy private feasting to a public fast, thy smoothing titles to a ragged name, thy sugared tongue to bitter wormwood taste. Thy violent vanities can never last. How comes it then, vile opportunity, being so bad such numbers seek for thee? When wilt thou be the humble suppliant's friend, and bring him where his suit may be obtained? When wilt thou shorten our great strifes to end, or free that soul which wretchedness hath chained? Give physic to the sick, ease to the pained. The poor, lame, blind, halt, creep, cry out for thee, but they ne'er meet with opportunity. The patient dies while the physician sleeps. The orphan pines while the oppressor feeds. Justice is feasting while the widow weeps. Advice is sporting while infection breeds. Thou grants no time for charitable deeds. Wrath, envy, treason, rape, and murder's rages. Thy heinous hours wait on them as their pages. When truth and virtue have to do with thee, 1,000 crosses keep them from thy aid. They buy thy help, but sin ne'er gives a fee. He gratis comes, and thou art well apaid, as well to hear as grant what he hath said. My Collatine would else have come to me when Tarquin did, but he was stayed by thee. Guilty thou art of murder and of theft, guilty of perjury and subornation, guilty of treason, forgery, and shift, guilty of incest, that abomination, an accessory by thine inclination to all sins past and all that are to come, from the creation to the general doom. Misshapen time, copse made of ugly night, swift, subtle post, carrier of grisly care, eater of youth, false slave to false delight, base watch of woes, sin's pack-horse, virtue's snare, thou nursest all and murderest all that are. Oh, hear me then, injurious shifting time, be guilty of my death, since of my crime. Why hath thy servant opportunity betrayed the hours thou gavest me to repose, cancelled my fortunes and enchained me to endless date of never-ending woes? Time's office is to find the hate of foes, to eat up errors by opinion bred, not spend the dowry of a lawful bed. Time's glories to calm contending kings, to unmask falsehood and bring truth to light, to stamp the seal of time in aged things, to wake the morn and sentinel the night, to wrong the wronger till he render right, to ruinate proud buildings with the hours, and smear with dust their glittering golden towers, to fill with wormholes stately monuments, to feed oblivion with decay of things, to blot old books and alter their contents, to pluck the quills from ancient ravens' wings, to dry the old oak sap and cherish springs, to spoil antiquities of hammered steel, and turn the giddy round of fortune's wheel, to show the beldam daughters of her daughter, to make the child a man, the man a child, to slay the tiger that doth live by slaughter, to tame the unicorn and lion wild, to mock the subtle in themselves beguiled, to cheer the ploughman with increaseful crops, and waste huge stones with little water drops. Thou ceaseless lackey to eternity, with some mischance cross Tarquin in his flight, devise extremes beyond extremity, to make him curse this cursed crimeful night. Let ghastly shadows his lewd eyes affright, and the dire thought of his committed evil shape every bush a hideous shapeless devil, disturb his hours of rest with restless trances, afflict him in his bed with bedrid groans. Let there bechance him pitiful mischances to make him moan, but pity not his moans. Stone him with hardened hearts harder than stones, and let mild women to him lose their mildness, wilder to him than tigers in their wildness. Let him have time to tear his curled hair. Let him have time against himself to rave. Let him have time of time's help to despair. Let him have time to live a loathed slave. Let him have time a beggar's oughts to crave, and time to see one that by alms doth live. Disdain to him, disdained scraps to give. Let him have time to see his friends, his foes, and merry fools to mock at him resort. Let him have time to mark how slow time goes in time of sorrow, and how swift and short his time of folly and his time of sport. And ever let his unrecalling crime have time to wail the abusing of his time. Out, idle words, servants to shallow fools, unprofitable sounds, weak arbitrators. Busy yourselves in skill contending schools. Debate where leisure serves with dull debaters. To trembling clients be you mediators. For me, I force not argument to straw, since that my case is past the help of law. In vain I rail at opportunity, at time, at Tarquin, and uncheerful night. In vain I cavil with mine infamy. In vain I spurn at my confirmed despite. This helpless smoke of words doth me no right. The remedy indeed to do me good is to let forth my foul, defiled blood. Revealing day through every cranny spies, and seems to point her out where she sits weeping, to whom she sobbing speaks. O eye of eyes, why priest thou through my window? Leave thy peeping. Mock with thy tickling beams eyes that are sleeping. Brand not my forehead with thy piercing light, for day hath naught to do what's done by night. Yet die I will not till my Collatine hath heard the cause of my untimely death, that he may vow in that sad hour of mine revenge on him that made me stop my breath. My stained blood to Tarquin I'll bequeath, which by him tainted shall for him be spent, and as his due writ in my testament. My honor I'll bequeath unto the knife that wounds my body so dishonored. 'Tis honor to deprive dishonored life. The one will live, the other being dead. So of shame's ashes shall my fame be bred, for in my death I murder shameful scorn. My shame so dead, mine honor is newborn. Dear Lord, of that dear jewel I have lost, what legacy shall I bequeath to thee? My resolution, love, shall be thy boast, by whose example thou revenged mayst be. How Tarquin must be used, read it in me. Myself, thy friend, will kill myself, thy foe, and for my sake serve thou false Tarquin so. This plot of death, when sadly she had laid and wiped the brinish pearl from her bright eyes, with untuned tongue she hoarsely calls her maid, whose swift obedience to her mistress hies, for fleet-winged duty with thought's feathers flies. Poor Lucrece cheeks unto her maid seem so, as winter meads when sun doth melt their snow. Her mistress she doth give demure good morrow, with soft slow tongue, true mark of modesty, and sorts a sad look to her lady's sorrow, for why her face wore sorrow's livery, but durst not ask of her audaciously, why her 2 sons were cloud eclipsed so, nor why her fair cheeks overwashed with woe. But as the earth doth weep, the sun being set, each flower moistened like a melting eye, even so the maid with swelling drops gan wet her circled eyne, enforced by sympathy of those fair suns set in her mistress' sky, who in a salt-waved ocean quench their light, which makes the maid weep like the dewy night. By this mild patience bid fair Lucrece speak to the poor counterfeit of her complaining. My girl, quoth she, on what occasion break those tears from thee that down thy cheeks are raining? If thou dost weep for grief of my sustaining, know, gentle wench, it small avails my mood. If tears could help, mine own would do me good. But tell me, girl, when went, and there she stayed till after a deep groan, Tarquin from hence? Madam, ere I was up, replied the maid, the more to blame my sluggard negligence, yet with the fault I thus far can dispense. Myself was stirring ere the break of day, and ere I rose was Tarquin gone away. But lady, if your maid may be so bold, she would request to know your heaviness. Oh, peace, quoth Lucrece, if it should be told, the repetition cannot make it less, for more it is than I can well express, and that deep torture may be called a hell, when more is felt than one hath power to tell. Go, get me hither paper, ink, and pen, yet save that labor, for I have them here. What should I say? One of my husband's men bid thou be ready by and by to bear a letter to my lord, my love, my dear. Bid him with speed prepare to carry it. The cause craves haste, and it will soon be writ. Her maid is gone, and she prepares to write, first hovering o'er the paper with her quill. Conceit and grief an eager combat fight. What wit sets down is blotted straight with will. This is too curious good, this blunt and ill. Much like a press of people at the door, throng her inventions, which shall go before. At last she thus begins. Thou worthy lord of that unworthy wife that greeteth thee, health to thy person. Next vouchsafe to afford, if ever love thy Lucrece thou wilt see, some present speed to come and visit me. So I commend me from our house in grief. My woes are tedious, though my words are brief. Her letter now is sealed, and on it writ, At Argia to my lord, with more than haste. The post attends, and she delivers it, charging the sour-faced groom to hie as fast as lagging fowls before the northern blast. Speed more than speed, but dull and slow she deems. Extremity still urgeth such extremes. But long she thinks till he return again, and yet the duteous vassal scarce is gone. The weary time she cannot entertain, for now 'tis stale to sigh, to weep and groan. So woe hath wearied woe, moan, tired moan, that she her plaints a little while doth stay, pausing for means to mourn some newer way. Thus ebbs and flows the current of her sorrow, and time doth weary time with her complaining. She looks for night, and then she longs for morrow, and both she thinks too long with her remaining. Short time seems long in sorrow sharp sustaining. Though woe be heavy, yet it seldom sleeps, and they that watch see time, how slow it creeps. But now the mindful messenger come back, brings home his lord and other company, who finds his Lucrece clad in mourning black, and round about her tear-distained eye blue circles streamed like rainbows in the sky. These water galls in her dim element foretell new storms to those already spent, which when her sad beholding husband saw, amazedly in her sad face he stares. Her eyes, those sodden tears, look red and raw, her lively colour killed with deadly cares. He hath no power to ask her how she fares. Both stood, like old acquaintance in a trance, met far from home, wondering each other's chance. At last he takes her by the bloodless hand, and thus begins. What uncouth ill event hath thee befallen, that thou dost trembling stand? Sweet love, what spite hath thy fair colour spent? Why art thou thus attired in discontent? Unmask, dear, dear, this moody heaviness, and tell thy grief, that we may give redress. 3 times with sigh she gives her sorrow fire, ere once she can discharge one word of woe. At length, addressed to answer his desire, she modestly prepares to let them know her honour is ta'en prisoner by the foe, while Collatine and his consorted lords with sad attention long to hear her words. And now this pale swan in her watery nest begins the sad dirge of her certain ending. Few words, quoth she, shall fit the trespass best, when no excuse can give the fault amending. In me more woes than words are now depending, and my laments would be drawn out too long to tell them all with one poor tired tongue. Then be this all the task it hath to say. Dear husband, in the interest of thy bed, a stranger came, and on that pillow lay, where thou was wont to rest thy weary head. And what wrong else may be imagined by foul enforcement might be done to me. From that, alas, thy Lucrece is not free. Mine enemy was strong, my poor self weak, and far the weaker with so strong a fear. My bloody judge forbade my tongue to speak. No rightful plea might plead for justice there. His scarlet lust came evidence to swear that my poor beauty had purloined his eyes. And when the judge is robbed, the prisoner dies. Oh, teach me how to make mine own excuse, or at the least this refuge let me find. Though my gross blood be stained with this abuse, immaculate and spotless is my mind. That was not forced, that never was inclined to accessory yieldings, but still pure, doth in her poisoned closet yet endure. Lo, here, the hopeless merchant of this loss, with head declined, and voice dammed up with woe, with sad set eyes and wretched arms across, from lips new waxen pale begins to blow the grief away that stops his answer so. But wretched as he is, he strives in vain. What he breathes out, his breath drinks up again. Which speechless woe of his poor she attendeth, and his untimely frenzy thus awaketh. Dear Lord, thy sorrow to my sorrow lendeth another power, no flood by raining slaketh. My woe too sensible thy passion maketh, more feeling painful. Let it then suffice to drown one woe, one pair of weeping eyes. And for my sake, when I might charm thee so, for she that was thy Lucrece now attend me. Be suddenly revenged on my foe. Thine, mine, his own. Suppose thou dost defend me from what is past. The help that thou shalt lend me comes all too late. Yet let the traitor die, for sparing justice feeds iniquity. At this request with noble disposition, each present lord began to promise aid, as bound in knighthood to her imposition, longing to hear the hateful foe bewrayed. But she that yet her sad task hath not said, the protestation stops. O speak, quoth she, how may this forced stain be wiped from me? With this they all at once began to say, her body's stain, her mind untainted clears, while with a joyless smile she turns away the face, that map which deep impression bears of hard misfortune, carved in it with tears. No, no, quoth she, no dame hereafter living by my excuse shall claim excuses giving. Here, with a sigh as if her heart would break, she throws forth Tarquin's name. He, she says, but more than he, her poor tongue could not speak, till after many accents and delays, untimely breathing, sick and sure to say, she utters this: He, fair lords, 'tis he that guides this hand to give this wound to me. Even here she sheathed in her harmless breast a harmful knife that thence her soul unsheathed. That blow did bale it from the deep unrest of that polluted prison where it breathed. Her contrite sighs into the clouds bequeathed her winged sprite, and through her wounds doth fly life's lasting date from cancelled destiny. Stone still, astonished with this deadly deed, stood Collatine and all his lordly crew, till Lucrece father, that beholds her bleed, himself on her self-slaughtered body threw, and from the purple fountain Brutus drew the murderous knife, and as it left the place her blood, in poor revenge, held it in chase. And bubbling from her breast it doth divide in two slow rivers, that the crimson blood circles her body in on every side, who like a late-sacked island vastly stood, bare and unpeopled, in this fearful flood. Some of her blood still pure and red remained, and some looked black, and that false Tarquin stained. Daughter, dear daughter, old Lucretius cries, that life was mine which thou hast here deprived. If in the child the father's image lies, where shall I live now, Lucrece is unlived? Thou wast not to this end from me derived. If children predecease progenitors, we are their offspring, and they none of ours. O time, cease thou thy course, and last no longer. If they surcease to be that should survive, shall rotten death make conquest of the stronger, and leave the faltering feeble souls alive? The old bees die, the young possess their hive. Then live, sweet Lucrece, live again, and see thy father die, and not thy father thee. By this starts Collatine as from a dream, and bids Lucretius give his sorrow place. And then in key-cold Lucrece bleeding stream he falls and bathes the pale fear in his face, and counterfeits to die with her a space, till manly shame bids him possess his breath, and live to be revenged on her death. The deep vexation of his inward soul hath served a dumb arrest upon his tongue, who mad that sorrow should his use control, or keep him from heart-easing words so long, begins to talk, but through his lips do throng weak words, so thick come in his poor heart's aid, that no man could distinguish what he said. Yet sometime Tarquin was pronounced plain, but through his teeth, as if the name he tore, this windy tempest, till it blow up rain, held back his sorrow's tide to make it more. At last it rains, and busy winds give o'er. Then son and father weep with equal strife. Who should weep most, for daughter or for wife? Brutus, who plucked the knife from Lucrece's side, seeing such emulation in their woe, began to clothe his wit in state and pride, burying in Lucrece's wound his folly show. He with the Romans was esteemed so, as silly jeering idiots are with kings, for sportive words and uttering foolish things. But now he throws that shallow habit by, wherein deep policy did him disguise, and armed his long-hid wits advisedly, to check the tears in Collatinus' eyes. Thou wronged lord of Rome, quoth he, arise. Let my unsounded self, supposed a fool, now set thy long-experienced wit to school. Why, Collatine, is woe the cure for woe? Do wounds help wounds, or grief help grievous deeds? Is it revenge to give thyself a blow for his foul act, by whom thy fair wife bleeds? Such childish humor from weak minds proceeds. Thy wretched wife mistook the matter so to slay herself, that should have slain her foe. Courageous Roman, do not steep thy heart in such relenting dew of lamentations, but kneel with me, and help to bear thy part to rouse our Roman gods with invocations, that they will suffer these abominations, since Rome herself in them doth stand disgraced, by our strong arms from forth her fair streets chased. Now by the Capitol that we adore, and by this chaste blood so unjustly stained, by heaven's fair sun that breeds the fat earth's store, by all our country rights in Rome maintained, and by chaste Lucrece soul that late complained her wrongs to us, and by this bloody knife we will revenge the death of this true wife. This said, he struck his hand upon his breast, and kissed the fatal knife to end his vow, and to his protestation urged the rest, who wondering at him did his words allow. Then jointly to the ground their knees they bow, and that deep vow which Brutus made before, he doth again repeat, and that they swore. When they had sworn to this advised doom, they did conclude to bear dear Lucrece thence, to show her bleeding body thorough Rome, and so to publish Tarquin's foul offense, which being done with speedy diligence, the Romans plausibly did give consent to Tarquin's everlasting banishment.
When my love swears that she is made of truth, I do believe her, though I know she lies, that she might think me some untutored youth, unskilful in the world's false forgeries. Thus vainly thinking that she thinks me young, although I know my years be past the best, I smiling credit her false-speaking tongue, outfacing faults in love with love's ill rest. But wherefore says my love that she is young? And wherefore say not I that I am old? Oh, love's best habit is a soothing tongue, and age in love loves not to have years told. Therefore I'll lie with love, and love with me, since that our faults in love thus smothered be. Two loves I have, of comfort and despair, that like two spirits do suggest me still. My better angel is a man right fair, my worser spirit a woman colored ill. To win me soon to hell, my female evil tempteth my better angel from my side, and would corrupt my saint to be a devil, wooing his purity with her fair pride. And whether that my angel be turned fiend, suspect I may, yet not directly tell. For being both to me, both to each friend, I guessed one angel is another's hell. The truth I shall not know, but live in doubt, till my bad angel fire my good one out. Did not the heavenly rhetoric of thine eye, gainst whom the world could not hold argument, persuade my heart to this false perjury? Vows for thee broke deserve not punishment. A woman I forswore, but I will prove thou, being a goddess, I forswore not thee. My vow was earthly, thou a heavenly love. Thy grace being gained cures all disgrace in me. My vow was breath, and breath a vapor is. Then thou fair sun that on this earth doth shine, exhale this vapor now. In thee it is. If broken, then it is no fault of mine. If by me broke, what fool is not so wise to break an oath to win a paradise?
Sweet Cytherea, sitting by a brook, with young Adonis, lovely, fresh, and green, did court the lad with many a lovely look, such looks as none could look but beauty's queen. She told him stories to delight his ear, she showed him favours to allure his eye. To win his heart she touched him here and there. Touches so soft still conquer chastity. But whether unripe years did want conceit, or he refused to take her figured proffer, the tender nibbler would not touch the bait, but smile and jest at every gentle offer. Then fell she on her back, fair queen, and towered. He rose and ran away. Ah, fool, too froward.
If love make me forsworn, how shall I swear to love? Oh, never faith could hold, if not to beauty vowed. Though to myself forsworn, to thee I'll constant prove. Those thoughts to me like oaks, to thee like osiers bowed. Study his bias leaves, and makes his book thine eyes, where all those pleasures live that art can comprehend. If knowledge be the mark, to know thee shall suffice. Well learned is that tongue that well can thee commend. All ignorant that soul that sees thee without wonder, which is to me some praise, that I thy parts admire. Thine eye Jove's lightning seems, thy voice his dreadful thunder, which not to anger bent, is music and sweet fire. Celestial as thou art, oh, do not love that wrong, to sing heaven's praise with such an earthly tongue.
Scarce had the sun dried up the dewy morn, and scarce the herd gone to the hedge for shade, when Cytherea, all in love forlorn, a longing tarriance for Adonis made, under an osier growing by a brook where Adon used to cool his spleen. Hot was the day, she hotter that did look for his approach, that often there had been. Anon he comes and throws his mantle by, and stood stark naked on the brook's green brim. The sun looked on the world with glorious eye, yet not so wistly as this queen on him. He, spying her, bounced in, whereas he stood. O Jove, quoth she, why was not I a flood?
Fair is my love, but not so fair as fickle, mild as a dove, but neither true nor trusty, brighter than glass, and yet as glass is brittle, softer than wax, and yet as iron rusty. A lily pale, with damask dye to grace her, none fairer, nor none falser to deface her. Her lips to mine how often hath she joined, between each kiss her oaths of true love swearing. How many tales to please me hath she coined, dreading my love, the loss thereof still fearing. Yet in the midst of all her pure protestings, her faith, her oaths, her tears, and all were jesting. She burned with love, as straw with fire flameth. She burned out love, as soon as straw outburneth. She framed the love, and yet she foiled the framing. She bade love last, and yet she fell a turning. Was this a lover, or a lecher whether, bad in the best, though excellent in neither?
If music and sweet poetry agree, as they must needs, the sister and the brother, then must the love be great twixt thee and me, because thou lov'st the one, and I the other. Dowland to thee is dear, whose heavenly touch upon the lute doth ravish human sense. Spenser to me, whose deep conceit is such as passing all conceit needs no defense. Thou lov'st to hear the sweet melodious sound that Phoebus' lute, the queen of music, makes. And I, in deep delight, am chiefly drowned when as himself to singing he betakes. One God is God to both, as poets feign. One knight loves both, and both in thee remain. Fair was the morn when the fair queen of love betook herself where love might be beguiled. Paler for sorrow than her milk-white dove, for Adam's sake, a youngster proud and wild. Her stand she takes upon a steep uphill, and on Adonis comes with horn and hounds. She, silly queen, with more than love's goodwill, forbade the boy he should not pass those grounds. Once, quoth she, did I see a fair sweet youth here in these brakes, deep wounded with a boar. Deep in the thigh, a spectacle of ruth. See in my thigh, quoth she, here was the sore. She showed hers. He saw more wounds than one, and blushing fled, and left her all alone.
Sweet rose, fair flower, untimely plucked, soon faded. Plucked in the bud and faded in the spring. Bright orient pearl, alack, too timely shaded. Fair creature, killed too soon by death's sharp sting. Like a green plum that hangs upon a tree and falls through wind before the fall should be. I weep for thee, and yet no cause I have for why thou left'st me nothing in thy will, and yet thou left'st me more than I did crave, for why I craved nothing of thee still. Oh yes, dear friend, I pardon crave of thee. Thy discontent thou didst bequeath to me.
Venus, with young Adonis sitting by her under a myrtle shade, began to woo him. She told the youngling how god Mars did try her, and as he fell to her, so fell she to him. Even thus, quoth she, the warlike god embraced me, and then she clipped Adonis in her arms. Even thus, quoth she, the warlike god unlaced me, as if the boy should use like-loving charms. Even thus, quoth she, he seized it on my lips, and with her lips on his did act the seizure. And as she fetched breath, away he skips, and would not take her meaning nor her pleasure. Ah, that I had my lady at this bay, to kiss and clip me till I run away. Crabbed age and youth cannot live together. Youth is full of pleasance, age is full of care. Youth like summer morn, age like winter weather. Youth like summer brave, age like winter bare. Youth is full of sport, age's breath is short. Youth is nimble, age is lame. Youth is hot and bold, age is weak and cold. Youth is wild, and age is tame. Age, I do abhor thee. Youth, I do adore thee. Oh, my love is young. Age, I do defy thee. Oh, sweet shepherd, hie thee, for methinks thou stay'st too long.
Beauty is but a vain and doubtful good, a shining gloss that fadeth suddenly, a flower that dies when first it gins to bud, a brittle glass that's broken presently. A doubtful good, a glass, a flower, lost, faded, broken, dead within an hour. And as goods lost are seld or never found, As faded gloss no rubbing will refresh, as flowers dead lie withered on the ground, as broken glass no cement can redress, so beauty blemished once is forever lost, in spite of physic, painting, pain, and cost. Good night, good rest, neither be my share. She bade good night that kept my rest away, and daft me to a cabin hanged with care, to descant on the doubts of my decay. Farewell, quoth she, and come again tomorrow. Farewell I could not, for I supped with sorrow. Yet at my parting sweetly did she smile, in scorn or friendship nil I construe whether. May be she joyed to jest at my exile, it may be again to make me wander thither. Wander, a word for shadows like myself, as take the pain, but cannot pluck the pelf. Lord, how mine eyes throw gazes to the east, my heart doth charge the watch, the morning rise doth sight each moving sense from idle rest, not daring trust the office of mine eyes. While Philomela sings, I sit and mark, and wish her lays were tuned like the lark, for she doth welcome daylight with her ditty, and drives away dark dreaming night. The night so packed, I post unto my pretty, heart hath his hope, and eyes their wished sight. Sorrow changed to solace, and solace mixed with sorrow, for why? She sighed, and bade me come tomorrow. Were I with her, the night would post too soon, but now a minute's added to the hours. To spite me now, each minute seems a moon, yet not for me shines sun to succor flowers. Pack night, peep day, good day of night now borrow, short night tonight, and length thyself tomorrow.
It was a lording's daughter, the fairest one of three, that liked of her master as well might be, till looking on an Englishman, the fairest that eye could see, her fancy fell a turning. Long was the combat doubtful that love with love did fight, to leave the master loveless or kill the gallant knight. To put in practice either, alas, it was a spite unto the silly damsel. But one must be refused. More mickle was the pain that nothing could be used to turn them both to gain. For of the two the trusty knight was wounded with disdain. Alas, she could not help it. Thus art with arms contending was victor of the day, which by a gift of learning did bear the maid away. Then lullaby, the learned man hath got the lady gay, and now my song is ended. On a day, alack a day, love whose month was ever May, spy the blossom passing fair, playing in the wanton air. Through the velvet leaves the wind, all unseen, gan passage find, that the lover, sick to death, wished himself the heaven's breath. Ere, quoth he, thy cheeks may blow, ere would I my triumph so, but alas, my hand hath sworn ne'er to pluck thee from thy thorn. Vow, alack, for youth unmeet, youth so apt to pluck as sweet. Thou for whom Jove would swear Juno but an Ethiop were, and deny himself for Jove, turning mortal for thy love.
My flocks feed not, my ewes breed not, my rams speed not, all is amiss. love's denying, faith's defying, heart's renying, causer of this. All my merry jigs are quite forgot, all my lady's love is lost, God wot. Where her faith was firmly fixed in love, there a nay is placed without remove. One silly cross wrought all my loss. O frowning fortune, cursed fickle dame, for now I see inconstancy more in women than in men remain. In black mourn I, all fears scorn I, love hath forlorn me, living in thrall. Heart is bleeding, all help needing, oh cruel speeding, fraughted with gall. My shepherd's pipe can sound no deal, my wether's bell rings doleful knell, my curtal dog that wont to have played, plays not at all, but seems afraid. My sighs so deep procure to weep, in howling wise to see my doleful plight. How sighs resound through heartless ground, like 1,000 vanquished men in bloody fight. Clear wells spring not, sweet birds sing not, green plants bring not forth their dye. Herds stand weeping, flocks all sleeping, nymphs back peeping fearfully. All our pleasure known to us poor swains, all our merry meetings on the plains, all our evening's sport from us is fled, all our love is lost, for love is dead. Farewell, sweet love, thy like ne'er was for a sweet content, the cause of all my woe. Poor Corydon must live alone. Other help for him I see that there is none. When as thine eye hath chose the dame, and stalled the deer that thou shouldst strike, let reason rule things worthy blame, as well as fancy partial wight. Take counsel of some wiser head, neither too young nor yet unwed. And when thou comest thy tale to tell, smooth not thy tongue with filed talk, lest she some subtle practice smell. A cripple soon can find a halt, but plainly say thou lov'st her well, and set thy person forth to sell. What though her frowning brows be bent, her cloudy looks will calm ere night, and then too late she will repent that thus dissembled her delight, and twice desire, ere it be day, that which with scorn she put away. What though she strive to try her strength, and ban and brawl, and say thee nay, her feeble force will yield at length, when craft hath taught her thus to say, had women been so strong as men, if faith you had not had it then. And to her will frame all thy ways, spare not to spend, and chiefly there where thy desert may merit praise, by ringing in thy lady's ear. The strongest castle, tower, and town, the golden bullet beats it down. Serve always with assured trust, and in thy suit be humble true, unless thy lady prove unjust. Press never thou to choose anew. When time shall serve, be thou not slack to proffer, though she put thee back. To wiles and guiles that women work, dissembled with an outward show, the tricks and toys that in them lurk, the cock that treads them shall not know. Have you not heard it said full oft, a woman's nay doth stand for naught? Think women still to strive with men, to sin and never for to saint, there is no heaven by holy then, when time with age shall them attaint. Were kisses all the joys in bed, one woman would another wed. But soft enough. Too much I fear, lest that my mistress hear my song. She will not stick to round me o' the ear, to teach my tongue to be so long. Yet will she blush, here be it said, to hear her secrets so bereaved. Live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove that hills and valleys, dales and fields, and all the craggy mountains yields. There will we sit upon the rocks and see the shepherds feed their flocks, by shallow rivers, by whose falls melodious birds sing madrigals. There will I make thee a bed of roses, with 1,000 fragrant posies, a cap of flowers, and a kirtle embroidered all with leaves of myrtle, a belt of straw and ivy buds, with coral clasps and amber studs. And if these pleasures may thee move, then live with me and be my love.
If that the world and love were young, and truth in every shepherd's tongue, these pretty pleasures might me move to live with thee and be thy love. As it fell upon a day in the merry month of May, sitting in a pleasant shade which a grove of myrtles made, beasts did leap and birds did sing, trees did grow and plants did spring. Everything did banish moan, save the nightingale alone. She, poor bird, as all forlorn, leaned her breast up till a thorn, and there sung the dolefullest ditty, that to hear it was great pity. Fie, 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 now would she cry, Teroo, by and by, that to hear her so complain, scarce I could from tears refrain. For her grief so lively shown made me think upon mine own. Ah, thought I, thou mourn'st in vain, none takes pity on thy pain. Senseless trees, they cannot hear thee, ruthless beasts, they will not cheer thee. King Pandion, he is dead, all thy friends are lapped in lead. All thy fellow birds do sing, careless of thy sorrowing. Even so, poor bird, like thee, none alive will pity me. Whilst as fickle fortune smiled, thou and I were both beguiled. Every one that flatters thee is no friend in misery. Words are easy like the wind, faithful friends are hard to find. Every man will be thy friend whilst thou hast wherewith to spend. But if store of crowns be scant, no man will supply thy want. If that one be prodigal, bountiful they will him call. And with such like flattering, pity but he were a king. If he be addict to vice, quickly him they will entice. If to women he be bent, they have him at commandment. But if fortune once do frown, then farewell his great renown. They that fawned on him before use his company no more. He that is thy friend indeed, he will help thee in thy need. If thou sorrow, he will weep. If thou wake, he cannot sleep. Thus of every grief in heart, he with thee doth bear a part. These are certain signs to know, faithful friend from flattering foe.
Let the bird of loudest lay on the sole Arabian tree herald sad and trumpet be, to whose sound chaste wings obey. But thou, shrieking harbinger, foul precurrer of the fiend, augur of the fever's end, to this troop come thou not near. From this session interdict every fowl of tyrant wing, save the eagle, feathered king, keep the obsequy so strict. Let the priest in surplice white, that defunctive music can, be the death divining swan, lest the requiem lack his right. And thou, treble dated crow, that thy sable gender makest, with the breath thou givest and takest, mongst our mourners shalt thou go. Here the anthem doth commence. Love and constancy is dead. Phoenix and the turtle fled in a mutual flame from hence. So they loved, as loving twain had the essence but in one. Two distincts, division none. Number there in love was slain. Hearts remote, yet not asunder, distance and no space was seen twixt this turtle and his queen. But in them it were a wonder. So between them love did shine, that the turtle saw his right flaming in the phoenix sight. Either was the other's mine. Property was thus appalled, that the self was not the same, single nature's double name, neither two nor one was called. Reason, in itself confounded, saw division grow together, to themselves, yet either, neither, simple were so well compounded, that it cried, how true a twain seemeth this concordant one. Love hath reason, reason none, if what parts can so remain. Whereupon it made this threen to the phoenix and the dove, co-supremes and stars of love, as chorus to their tragic scene.
Beauty, truth, and rarity, grace in all simplicity, here enclosed in cinders lie. Death is now the phoenix' nest, and the turtle's loyal breast to eternity doth rest, leaving no posterity. 'Twas not their infirmity, it was married chastity. Truth may seem, but cannot be. Beauty brag, but 'tis not she. Truth and beauty buried be. To this urn let those repair that are either true or fair, for these dead birds sigh a prayer.